come to have oppression over the nation of Israel. And it's interesting because the nation of Israel are God's chosen people. They're in God's chosen place, but yet they're oppressed. Why? Because if you read Judges 1 through 5, it's because of their disobedience. Have you ever noticed in our lives, how many times do we find ourselves in a downward cycle because of our own disobedience towards God? So the disobedience, the downward cycle, Midian is now oppressed. Everywhere they go, the Midianites come and they plunder all the fields. They keep capturing more of the Israelites to make them slaves to the Midianites. It's interesting, if you look at the Midianites, their name means strife. It's a terrible name to name your children. Don't ever name your children, "This is my son Midian." Or if you ever introduce me to your son named Midian, I'll say, "That's the reason you have so much strife in your life, because you named him strife." Right? So the downward cycle finally starts to get better, and this, you'll notice this in Judges, when you finally bottom out, and the truth is for us today. When we finally bottom out, when we finally come to the end of ourselves, the Israelites go, "We've tried everything else, we might as well try God." And it says, they cried out to God. And that starts their upward cycle. Because God comes to a person named Gideon. When we find Gideon, God's chosen instrument here, he's hiding in a cave, afraid of the Midianites. If you remember, we're in a series called Worship. Our working definition of worship is putting our praise into practice. We all show up together here on a Sunday. What we just did, some people say we had a great time of worship. No, we didn't. We had a great time of praise. Right? We're singing, "How great is our God, how great is our God," right? You're the name above all. You're an awesome God. Change me, transform. We're just worshiping God. That's just lip service. To me, true worship is when we go out Monday through Saturday and take what we say in here and what's heard in here and put it into practice. So here's Gideon. They cry out to God, and God chooses Gideon, whose name means one who cuts down, hiding in a cave. Why? Because of all the strife. Because there's an enemy. Last week it was David, right? And the Israelites, God's chosen people, when you look at the size of the giant in your life compared to everything else, the giant seems insurmountable. We run away from the giant when we keep our eyes focused on the giant. But when we get our eyes focused on God, we can overcome every single giant in our life. And that's the reason why David ran headlong to that giant. Gideon kind of forgets that, right? He's hiding out. He's threshing some wheat so that the enemy, the strife, can't find it. An angel of the Lord shows up. And he looks at him and he calls him a mighty warrior. And I read the story of Gideon, and part of me, I ponder, was it a facetious move by the angel to call him mighty warrior? Hey, look at you, mighty warrior. Woo! Hiding from the enemy. Right? You're going to overcome, right? Or did you look at Gideon and he was reminding him that he was a mighty warrior? Do you see the difference? One is kind of that left-handed compliment, right? Look at you, mighty warrior, hiding out from everybody. The other one is saying, you forget who you forget who you are. Right? There's too many labels that get attached to us. There's too many labels that get affixed to us. You're not good enough. You're not smart enough. You're not pretty enough. I don't love you enough, right? There's too many failed relationships. There's all the labels. And so because of the strife in our life, because the Midianites that are all around us, we retreat into the cave of our own self. And God's looking at you saying, hey, mighty warrior, what are you doing? I'm ready to use you. This is truth today. That we are all mighty warriors, not because of who we are, but because of who God is. And the reason I know that Gideon has affixed labels to himself, he goes, oh, you must have got the wrong cave. Well, why would you say that? Well, because you're talking to me, I'm Gideon. I come from the smallest tribe, and I come from the smallest clan, and I'm the least of the smallest tribe of the smallest clan. So try the next cave over. Maybe that's who you're really looking for. How many times has God said, I want to use you in in a mighty way. And you're like, sorry, like, you must meant another man, right? Like, this is not me. You must meant another because my whole life, all I've had was this. My whole life, this is what I've been called. And God says, Jesus looks at him and says, I don't care what people have said. I'm here to tell you what you can do. That I'm going to use you. You see, I can tell that Gideon, that somewhere in his life, somewhere in the life of the Israelites in Judges chapter 6, they just totally abandoned God. Why? Because now they're in a land flowing with milk and honey. They have everything that they need, and they have a lot of their wants. You fast forward to a place called America, land of the free, home of the brave. We have everything we need. Honestly, we have most of our wants taken care of. And we wonder why America is in the shape that it's in. I think it's because when we become self-reliant, it means we're relying upon ourselves, and we put God on the shelf, and we say, yes, I'm a believer, yes, I'm a Christian, but I don't really need God because... And finally, I read the life of Gideon, that through these series of events, all of a sudden he goes, whoa, wait a second. I know who you are. Don't go anywhere because I want to offer some praise to you, right? You read that in Judges chapter, just run your finger down. You'll read this if you go home and read it. He all of a sudden realizes this isn't a little G God. Like, this is the big G God. Like, you are the God. You're like Yahweh. Like, everything that all my ancestors talk about, like, you're here, you're talking to me. Oh my goodness. So he goes and offers a sacrifice. Right? He offers a sacrifice of praise. God, you are good, right? I want to make sure that I'm in a right relationship with you. And he thinks that we're okay. I don't know why, where we come across as Christians, as believers, to say we think just worshiping or praising God on a Sunday is enough. I'm telling you, this is what an unbelieving world finds unbelievable. That we show up on a Sunday and we give all this praise to God, that we have access to the author, the perfecter, the finisher of our faith, the one who just spoke everything into existence, is at our fingertips. And many of us just use it on a Sunday. And he gives praise. And the angel looks at him and says, all right, you ready? One who cuts down. Are you ready, mighty warrior? Because this is where your countrymen have failed. They have many gods that they worship. One who cuts down, his name is Gideon, one who cuts down, go cut down the Asherah pole, go destroy the idols of other gods, and worship me. Put your praise into practice. What you did here with nobody else when you built the offering, when you gave me your sacrifice, now do it in front of everybody else and worship me. I love the story of Gideon because I think there's times I'm just like Gideon, where like I'm by myself and I read the Bible and I'm at home by myself or I'm in the basement and I'm like, woo, yeah, let's go, yeah. And then God tells me what to do and I'm like, oh, you meant like right now? Remember that other bit that we're talking about? Are you sure? Like, this is 101 number 27. Did you? I'm directionally challenged. Maybe you are too. Right? Because he tells Gideon, who's all ready, who's all gung-ho, and it says, in the middle of the night. Not in daytime. Right? I see him sneaking around in the middle of the night. The next morning they wake up and they're going, who did this? I know who did it. The one who cuts down. It's like, hello, that's kind of my name. That's what I do. And he changes his name. The Israelites want to relabel him. Before The Midianites labeled himself, I'm hiding. One who hides. One who runs away. He starts to go through this praise. He's emboldened and he's brave. And have you noticed, the first time that you step out in faith, the first time that you do something great for God, the enemy's right there labeling you again. Wait. You really think God's going to use you? Really? And the Israelites, God's chosen people, says, well, if he really did that, we're going to name him Jerubbaal, which means let Baal contend with him. If you've heard it once, you've heard it 1,000 times. If the enemy wants to remind you of your past, let him know about your future. You know what your future is? Mighty warrior. You're more than conquerors. You will overcome. There's no weapon formed against you will prosper. And Gideon again, right? So he's in his basement. He's in the cave like, all right, I'm going to do this. I'm ready to go. Here we go. We're going to overcome the strife. But God, can I ask one more time? Can I do like this whole testing? Like, I just want to make sure. God does it again. Chapter 7. After it's confirmed, finally I think Gideon is ready to worship. Ready to put his praise into practice. Gets up early the next morning. He sends a plea. Hey, God's with me. God's with us. We'll be victorious. Who wants to go defeat the Midianites? And everybody goes, yeah! And Gideon's like, yes, we're going to do this. Look at how many people we have. And God says, hey, Gideon, do you really trust me? Yeah, God, I really trust you. Ask if anybody is scared. Okay, I'll ask if anybody's scared. Because we're not going to be scared. We're victorious, right? 30,000 people. Hey, who's scared? Whoop, 20,000 people raise their hands. He's like, no. For real? Send home 20,000 people. Okay, 10,000 people. All right, we can do this. 10,000 people, like, we're ready. There's 10,000 reasons. There's 10,000 people. Yeah. And God says, hey, Gideon, you trust me? Yeah, God. I trust you. I mean, because you know that we give praise every Sunday. Yeah, God, I trust you. Church, you trust me? Yeah, God, I trust you. This is what I want you to do. Oh, you mean the songs I was singing, the prayers that I prayed on Sunday? You mean that you were listening? Oh. You mean you really want me to? Oh. I'm really supposed to be your hands and feet? I didn't know that, like, he said, go to the river and tell the guys to get a drink. All right? The people who were with him, 30,000, 20,000 because they're scared. 10,000 left. Many of them would have been mighty warriors like Gideon. And they're ready to go to battle. Why do I know this? Because when they come to the water, they kneel down and they scoop it up and they drink it. Ready for battle. I'm on alert, right? I'm ready to go to battle. If anybody comes, I see you coming. There's 300 that when it was time to drink, they just went, that was good. Stuck their face right in the water. That was cool. That was a party. That's cool. Right face right in the water. They're just drinking, lapping it up like dogs. You're the splash zone, I'm sorry. They're prone at that moment. They're laying face down, drinking, right? And Gideon's like real quick, right? Don't you love how if we were there, we would have known who God wanted us to keep. Oh, this is going to be so easy.